So, Bo, I've visited Alabama many times over the years. First, as a kid on road trips, we'd go down to visit family in Texas, and I felt like I'd been to many of the cities. I've also been back in more recent years to be part of your awesome ride, which we're going to talk about. But I have never been to Bessemer, Alabama. Can you tell us about Bessemer?
Alabama. I tell you what, the first year that we had our ride, we went through Bessemer, Alabama.
I think I went down for Cordova.
I think we rode
here
from
too.
Jasper to Bessemer.
And you went through.
And we spent the night there, then got up the next morning and went from Bessemer to Tuscaloosa to where we finished the ride. So the fourth day of our ride, we were in Bessemer.
Right there.
And it was a nice ride. And to tell you about my hometown, small. Back then, it was a small industrial town. We had the steel mills. That was the thing. Everybody was employed, and once the steel mills left, like any other town around the country, everything goes to pot. As we speak right now, the unemployment rate is 41%.
Really?
41%, and one of the big industries just built a fulfillment center there, and I'm looking to do business with them to try to help employ some hometown folks. So,
Awesome.
it's home. Bessemer is a place to where I like to go to get away from being Bo Jackson.
We'll return to that theme. I know that's something you also take advantage of having a man cave to do.
Yeah.
Nice. So I wanted to start out and ask you about some key people and the
Okay.
lessons that you've learned from them. First person on my list is your mom.
My mom. The reason that I'm talking to you right now, the backbone of the Jackson clan. What else? A wealth of knowledge at an early age, because the one thing that she instilled in all of us is treat people like you want to be treated.
It's a great rule to live
And
by.
if you ever get a job, make sure you do it the right way so they'll never have to question your work ethic.
Wow. So you had a lot of coaches in your
A lot
life
of
as an
coaches.
athlete.
Yes.
Coach Pat Dye, he referred to you as a highly intelligent difference maker. What did you learn from Coach Dye?
How to be patient. And I'm not a patient person. I'm just not. And he says, just wait on it. It will come. And what he meant by that was that at the point, I like to do A, B, and C, and D before I get to B. And he taught me the art of being patient. He taught me the art of being aware of my surroundings. And in 4 years, he taught not only me, but everybody that was involved, every kid my age and younger that had anything to do with football, he taught us in 4 years how to grow from adolescent, immature, teenage boys to be responsible young men by the time we left Auburn.
Tell us about Brian Bosworth.
Bosworth is a good guy. A lot of people look at him from all the antics that he did when he was playing, and he was ahead of his time. It was all a marketing ploy. Bosworth did that for marketing. As you know, no one had come along and had the wild hair and the antics like he did. And he was a master at it. Plus, he was a good football player, too. He was a very good football player. And he combined both of those. And 30 years after he's been out of the sport, people are still talking about it. And that tells you that he did something right.
Indeed. Dr. James Andrews.
Oh, Dr. Jimmy. One of my closest friends. Everybody called him Doc Andrews. I just call him Doc. I just call him Doc. He is there. He is more than a doctor. He is more than a doctor. He isn't one of these guys that you don't go to his office and feel like you're at a cattle call to where they push you in and give your number and push you out the back door. He sits down and talks to you. He'll ask you to meet him for dinner. He will invite you over for dinner just to talk about your case. The night before I had my hip surgery, I had it in Illinois because I didn't want to have it back home because my mother was sick with cancer, and I didn't want her trying to get up and run up the highway to see me when she was also under the doctor's care. So I got the White Sox doctor, who was a joint replacement specialist, to do my surgery, and I asked if Dr. Andrews could assist because I knew Dr. Andrews, and he said sure. So they flew up the day before. I cooked him a steak dinner and bottle of champagne, got a limo, went to the Bulls game, and I think Shaq was a rookie.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken, Shaq was a rookie. Whoever he was playing with at the time, they came to Chicago to play the Bulls. So we went to the basketball game. I'm limping. They're having the time of their life. After the game, went home, went to bed, got up the next morning, went and got a new hip. So that's the type of doctor he is.
How about Brett Favre?
One of the most talented, humble guys to play his position. He just did his job. He did his job, and he did it well. History speaks for itself. What he's doing now, he's back home in Mississippi doing his own thing. He's back home in Mississippi doing his own thing. That's just Brett Favre. Well respected, one of the most respected football players to strap on the pads.
How about your wife?
Wow. Everything. Actually met her my junior year in college. I had my arm in a sling. Dr. Andrews had just did my shoulder. See?
All comes around.
All comes around. She's a mother of my 3 kids, which is everything for me. I grew up the 8th of 10 kids, and my mother raised all 10 of us by herself. And I always envied the kids that had their mom and dad because they were the first to get the nice Christmas toys, the nice bicycles, and as they got older, the mini bikes and go-karts. And as they got older, the first to get their driver's license, and then the first to have a car. And I never experienced that. And even during my professional career, I would always sit across the locker room and I watch my teammates and their dads interact. So I always envied them. And I envy people my age and older because they still can interact with their parents, and both of mine are in heaven. So, and what she did for what we created in our 3 kids, I never want my kids to experience I'm not going to say the life, because I don't want them to experience the sadness of not having their mom and dad around. So she is responsible for the happy side of me, the joyous side of me, because I look at her and see that the 3 kids that we created is priceless. And they're all grown now. I'm trying to get them off of the payroll. And if I could come up with the solution.
A lot of people would like to know how that works.
Yes, I I could be a wealthy man if I can come up with a solution of how to get the kids off of the payroll. And they're 29, 31, and 33.
Wow.
It's been a long time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we all know the stories well of your time as a baseball player, a football player, and many even know your time at a younger age in track. So those are the three sports that we associate you with. Mm-hmm. So my first question is, talk about the difference between baseball and football. When you were playing both sports at the same time, what did you see as the differences perhaps in how you prepared or just life as playing one of those sports versus the other?
Football is an intense, dangerous fun. Baseball is laid back and having all the fun every day. It's everyday fun in baseball because you're playing 162 games and you seldomly get an off day. And your off days, you are usually traveling. So you're on the plane with your teammates and everybody's playing poker or doing whatever. And chartered planes, so you don't have to fasten your seatbelts. They fold the middle seat down and play poker and do those things. And by the time we get to our destination, everybody's happy and you go to dinner, you do your thing, and you hang out. So both of them are drastically different. And the way we interact with each other, the pay, way different.
Way different.
Way different. But it's all about having fun. It's all about trying to get to that next level.
Interesting. So in the United States especially, people really associated you with those sports, baseball, football in particular. But then there was a campaign, and Nike launched in 1989, Bo Knows. That was a time when cross-training was newer, and certainly shoes for cross-training were new. That campaign is credited with 1,000% increase in sales in those products and really putting that idea of cross-training on the map. So suddenly, we began to see you wearing a lot of different outfits, playing a lot of different sports.
Yes.
And I'm curious how they first explained that to you, and then how did they introduce to you all the different sports they were going to have you play?
Well, it was fun. It was, if you look at it now, the way we did it, they said, we filmed that commercial in a cave because we didn't have the technology that we have now. But the directors, the marketing people at Nike, myself, we sat down, put our heads together, and we just came up with a bunch of things because they asked me, have you ever did this? Yes, I have. Have you ever did this? Yes, I have. Can you do this? Yes, I have. Have you ever ice skated? No, I haven't. No, I haven't, but I know how to roller skate very well. So we came up with, and they said, the thing that we want to do is come up with an idea and so forth and so on. So we were on the table, we got the storyboards out, and they, well, let's do this way and do this way and combine this. I said, look, why don't we just take this out, do this, add this, and film it to see how it works? And somebody said, Bo Knows.
And that's where
it came from.
So to help our listeners, the first version of the commercial, you were playing baseball, football, basketball, tennis, ice hockey, wrestling, and running. And then in the later versions, some other sports were added: soccer, cricket, surfing,
race car driving,
weightlifting, race car driving,
Formula One, yes.
horse racing,
yes.
And my favorite, cycling.
Yes.
Whose idea was cycling?
I haven't the slightest idea. Idea, but anything that was sports related, athletic, they threw it in. It was like a smorgasbord of just throw it in, just throw it up against the wall to see how it looks. And we came out with one of the most iconic commercials that's ever been filmed about sports.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. So they dressed you up as a cyclist.
Yes.
At that time, were you a cyclist?
I had a Huffy.
All right.
I had a Huffy. And when I didn't have one, me and my buddies, we go out and we would actually go to the sanitation landfill, find an old bike, take it back home, and strip it, repaint it, fix it, look in our bike junk pile, get things that we need, and we would build bikes. We would actually build bikes. And if we didn't have nuts and bolts to hold that banana seat on it with a tall sissy bar, we get a coat hanger and put through it and wrench it down.
And just make it work.
And make it work, yes.
Nice.
So
if we fast forward, cycling now is a big part of your life.
it is.
Talk about that.
Cycling is the way. The cycling is probably the reason that I don't weigh 300 pounds. Cycling is the reason, probably the most significant reason that I'm not weighing 300 pounds, because I don't run anymore. All my life, I began running as a young kid, running from butt whoopings. So running, nobody ever taught me how to do that. An extension cord or a switch taught me how to run. So when I got in trouble and my mother said, go get him. If you don't catch him, you're going to take his butt whooping. So my neighborhood wasn't that big. I'd say a 4-block radius. And they would chase me around the neighborhood until I got tired. And my brothers and sisters, if you ever seen the documentary of the Serengeti, where the wild dogs chase the wildebeest, where they let two chase the wildebeest and they chase him around and bring him back, and those two dogs drop out and two more. That was me. They would run me around the block, through the woods, through my neighbor's yard, back by the house, and they would drop off and two more brothers and sisters until they caught me and they dragged me back. I'm kicking and screaming I'm kicking and screaming like they're trying to take me back to the big house. And my mom would put my butt right there in the front yard. The neighbors would stop eating dinner, come out on their front porch. He's getting another whooping. Let's go see. So they know that I'd done something wrong.
But over time, you were able to outrun
I got to the point where they couldn't catch me. The last butt whipping I took from my mom, I'll never forget this. She had an extension cord in her right hand and her snub-nosed 38 in the left hand. And she said, run now, I got something to catch you. And I stood there and took that whipping like a proud black man.
Do you remember what the cause was?
No.
How you earned it?
I don't know. I probably said something back to her under my breath, but as parents, we can hear. We got bionic hearing. And she probably heard me and said, what did you say? And the rest is history.
You earned that one.
Yep, I earned that one. I earned it.
A few years ago, some terrible, terrible tornadoes really caused a lot of damage and the loss of life in your home state. It was 2011, and you wanted to do something about it. And your idea, which has now become a really important annual event, was to have a bike ride. How did you come up with that idea, and were you already riding at that time in your life?
I wouldn't say riding, but just to do something because I was bored.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say, well, I didn't have a relationship with Trek then, but I was riding an old Cannondale. I had an old Cannondale. It's still somewhere, and it was yellow and red, and it was a heavy bike. And I would ride it because we have forest preserves. With paved forest, we have paved paths, and you get on the bike and just go ride. People walk, and so forth and so on. And I think April 27th, 2011, if I'm not mistaken, the tornadoes entered the state on the eastern side of the state and stayed on the ground until it left the state and went through northwest Georgia. And while it was on the ground, which was probably the largest tornado in the history of the state, there were between 350 and 400 people that lost their lives. And at the time, um, you were just shocked because it was the worst tornado to ever come through the state. We had tornadoes come through, but they knock over some trailers and knock out power, but never something like this. And all summer, I pondered, what can I do to give back? I said, well, I can't do a golf outing because only a certain amount of people can play golf. And come up with a lot of things, but it just didn't work. I said, and this was about a week before the Super Bowl of that year. I said, maybe I can do a bike ride. Everybody knows how to ride a bike. I said, maybe, and it took me a week to make sure, thinking about this. All right, what companies can I call to try to help sponsor this while it's still fresh in the country's mind? Who can I call and talk to about this? And the first person that I called was it was halftime of the Super Bowl. And I called the governor of Alabama and took him from the game for the whole second half of the Super Bowl. We talked about Bikes Bama, and at the end, he said, Bo, whatever you need to help facilitate this, he said, I'm in your corner, period. So I got off the phone from him. First company that I called was Nike. Second company I called was Trek. Then I called a bunch of more companies, called a communications company in Birmingham. And I don't know if it's because my name's Bo Jackson. I don't know if it's because of my good looks or whatever, but people said yes, they wanted to be a part of this. And we had our first bike ride the very next year on the anniversary of that tornado. And we had our first official Bikes Bama ride. And it was a 5-day ride. We started in northeast Alabama where the tornado left the state, and we followed the path of the tornado. And it was a 5-day ride, and every day we covered from anywhere from 50 to 75 miles per day. I've never ridden that far. But just because of the cause, you'd get up and you're ready to go. Because every day there was a different group of people. And I had professional cyclists to come ride with me, professional basketball players, baseball players, football players, you name it, actors, singers, Formula One race car drivers. Everybody wanted to be a part of this. We had CEOs of companies, presidents of companies coming from all over the country to come support the effort to do something to give back. And we've been doing this now for 11 years. We just had our 11th inaugural Bikes Bama, if I'm not, it's 2011, no, 2000, it's 7 or 8?
Yep, we're at
2011, we had our first 2012, so it's been 7, not 11. I'm thinking about my other charity. And we have been doing very, very well. The thing that I like is that we got people from all 4 corners of the country. We have a couple that flies in every year, and they have for the past 2 or 3 years from England, just to ride in the ride. And that speaks volumes. And we have raised monies to where we have constructed over 75 community tornado shelters around the state. We've installed a number of tornado warning systems in areas where there's never been a warning system. We've helped reconstruct help to rebuild homes around the state, and that's what matters. My motto is, hey, Mother Nature is undefeated. She has never lost a fight. So when she comes through town, just get the hell out of her way. And that's the reason for the community tornado shelters.
But I think that's really important, the early warning and the shelters
The
to
early
go to.
warnings. Yes, I had a gentleman to walk up to me. This at the bike ride this year, and he said the tornado that came through a couple of months prior to us being there, he was driving a refurbished. It's not called a Winnebago. What are they called now? The big expensive ones.
Wow, big RV. Huh?
Yes, but he was driving it back to a customer, and he was listening to the radio, and the tornado was a couple of miles from him. Just so happened he turned down a road that he didn't know, but he was just trying to get out of the way of the tornado, and drove up on one of the community storm shelters. So he parked the RV beside the storm shelter, and he got in the storm shelter, and he said that probably saved his life. So he had to come up, and he took a picture and showed it to me. He showed the RV sitting beside, and he said that he didn't know where he was going. He was just trying to get out of the way of this tornado. And to hear stories like that, because the tornado came through the town and tore up half of the town, our bike route go through there, which was Beauregard, Alabama, which is not too far from Auburn, where we have our bike rides. And this year we had a mile of silence ride through the town because it really devastated the town. So tornadoes we will never be rid of them. That's just part of Mother Nature. It just seems like there's more now than there was back in the day. And we got to do whatever we can to get out of Mother Nature's way.